nonprofits. I saw a couple of folks ask specifically about agricultural use cases. So I also included a bit of information on that, as well as how to use the software in low or no bandwidth environments. We've done a webinar with a couple different flying labs before, so I also have some slides from their presentations that we can go through if that's helpful. But do want to take time for questions as well. Probably be about 30 minutes of presentation and then some conversation. Feel free to interrupt me as we go. This is a small enough crowd. I think that's not going to be a problem. So as you have thoughts or questions, you can either add them in the chat or just ask directly. And yeah, Dania shared a little bit about my background. Previously to working at Drone Deploy, I spent about 3 years at Esri, so very familiar with that technology as well. I worked with nonprofits there as well as on the engineering side. I also have experience working with satellite data through some work at NASA. So if you have questions about kind of how this aligns with other types of data you're using, either GIS or satellite, I'm happy to kind of take a stab at those questions as well. But geospatial data is definitely something that is interesting to me. And one of the big reasons I ended up joining Drone Deploy was just seeing how drones, as you all know, are bringing a lot of new types of data to places that might not have as much access to those. And it's been a really exciting journey growing with this company and watching that unfold. So I'll share a little bit about the company as well, because a lot of folks have used this at some point and maybe not the point of today. So there's probably some new tools available there. All right, does that sound like a good plan to everyone? Well,
Yes.
definitely great. And yeah, definitely let me know if you want to hear about something different or you have questions as we go. So, Joe Deploy is the world's leading reality capture platform. What does that mean? They're digitizing a lot of the physical world, and most of this is to make work or safer, smarter, and more efficient. The company has been consistently growing since 2013. They now have over 5,600 customers across the globe. Because of this, they're investing a lot of money into the platform to continuously grow and support the customer base. They have the highest levels of SaaS security and compliance, enterprise security, um, quarterly product releases where we're meeting new customer needs, making the product a little bit more efficient and useful for folks, and dedicated teams to help provide the best practices and strategies for growth for customer success, including 24-hour technical support and professional services who can provide SOPs and capture data for you if you cannot capture that yourself. So that's something we see a lot of customers do. They are using our services to get data if they're not flying themselves. So this video is showing what we call the category of a digital twin. So this is what a lot of customers are looking for. So it's using cameras, robots, and AI to capture a 3D model of the physical world. And we're often working with companies like Boston Dynamics, but we can support all types of robotic platforms on the system. Am I cutting out at all? I feel like I see my face. Okay, cool. All types of robotic platforms on the system, and we can also now capture data with a wide variety of tools. So when we think about the digital twin, this is really the category that our company operates in. And we're building a real future for our customers here. So we're obviously something that we focus on a lot is the drone data, exterior survey, earthworks, inspections. Um, Now we have a lot more tools for ground 360 documentation. We also integrate with fixed cameras, and something that I got questions about from this audience was laser scanning. That is something that you can upload pre-processed laser scans into Drone Deploy. We don't yet support the actual processing of that data, but it is that's kind of the LiDAR intake. That is something that is on the horizon as the company grows and as that need grows from the customer base. I'd say it's still such an expensive technology that we don't see widespread adoption of lasers. And I'll also talk a little bit about some of the new ways that actually just your phone and the cameras on phones are replacing that laser scanning need. And then there's kind of the data aggregation side, so bringing in data from different tools, including your GIS data, maybe drawings, records, IoT sensors, and lastly, simulation. So being able to predict and analyze from the digital world issues that might pop up in that through reality capture. And a lot of this is also about using AI in the process to kind of go from this planning stage of whatever you're doing to mix with the with the real world. So that's kind of a sweet spot in which we're focusing a lot of time on as well, is being a leader in AI technology. So we have three main pillars for building out the product. The first of those, that's I think it's helpful to kind of go through these because I think it'll give a bit more context on what you can do with the platform as well. So the first is unified, the second is automated, and the third is intelligent. So unified means that you have all your data in one place for a full view. This a single source of reference for whatever you're looking at, either from zooming in from a big picture aerial view, or you're inside a structure and you're looking around from there. So what we have here are a couple images from a mudslide that occurred in Ecuador. I kind of placed them over a very different ground picture, but just to give context on how the software was used for that. So here on the bottom left, we can see panoramas of the site. Then in the top, we can see this automation of a walk. So this was actually in a car, somebody holding a 360 camera and giving another type of visual there. Then you can start to do some analysis on that data. So this is a volume measurement of the actual mud that has made its way into the streets and of this kind of area here as well of mud. And then you can also get volume measurements, line measurements. So you're starting to do quick analytics on that. And in the bottom right is a visual from that walkthrough data. So that's how you can combine, unifying both the data you have from above, maybe you have photos, panos, videos, as well as maps, with data that you're collecting either inside structures or on the ground with 360 cameras. Automation, I think this is a video. Maybe not. So there was sorry, there was a video here. I don't think it's gonna play, but it was in Christchurch, New Zealand. Oh, there it is. Um, and I think this is interesting because obviously it's not scalable in most of the places where we're working now, especially for flying labs. But it presents an opportunity for something that might become more common in the future. And as there's different robotics platforms out there. I'm really interested to hear from you all what you're seeing in your own areas and how this might play a part, which is, in incredibly dangerous situations, using robotics instead of humans to enter into those areas and give kind of a first view of the area. So this was an earthquake, and they were using the Spot robot to basically do an entire site assessment before people were going into the building. Um, it's I think it's a really interesting area that will continue to develop. Right now, and there's a lot of work to make these robotic kind of quadrupeds or other robotic devices able to operate in an environment where they don't already know what's happening, so where it hasn't already been mapped out. And yeah, I'm definitely interested there if you all have any ideas or projects where you could be using those ground robotics. But the interesting thing here and kind of the what's being highlighted is also automation. So we have a lot of automation for drone captures, a lot of different types of flight plans for different use cases that can be automated. Obviously, now we're seeing a lot more data come in from drones in a box. So we're basically thinking that by 2027, over half the data on the platform is going to be from those drone in boxes. But we also see that same capability on the ground, where instead of walking around with your camera, you're being able to automate that as well. Zim, did you want to share something? I just saw you came on camera. Okay. And lastly, intelligence. So this is, an area that I think a lot of us are focusing on right now as technology companies, and an area that I think has been lacking both in satellite data as well as drone data. Um, we have a huge focus on collecting that data, but you're kind of left to your own devices to figure out what to do with that once you have it. And I work with a lot of conservation organizations who, spend hours by hand counting birds, counting seals, counting different things in the imagery that they're looking for. Maybe in some of your cases, it's counting buildings. We've done some work with a group in South Africa, counting buildings in a unmapped community there, and also in Brazil. I saw somebody from Brazil on here. And so really the idea there is once you get your data, getting the answers you want out of it. So a couple examples here. This is a landslide. The question might be, how many homes were damaged from the landslide? You want to get that answer directly instead of having to do further analysis on the data that you collected. And on the right here was a fire in California. Similarly, question is how many homes were destroyed? Um, and there's a lot of really neat, basically now that the large language models that exist out there are able to, you don't have to train it completely on this is what burnt houses looks like. It'll know more like, okay, this is what I'm looking for in this type of data, and be able to search and understand on its own. There's kind of like an exponential growth in what we're able to do with AI. And that's something that our company is focusing a lot on. And also, saw a couple people when they were interested in joining this webinar talking about fire use cases, talking about mapping homes or damage assessments. That's all work that we'd love to partner with you on as well, and kind of the direction we're
Hey,
heading.
Rebecca,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Mhm.
As you're talking about these two use cases, it's Marcelo from Brazil Flying Labs. So we have these two use cases, by the way, landslide and fire assessment. Okay, so about landslides, what type of image is required? I mean, the bands required for your AI algorithm to identify what? And is it possible to predict when it's going to happen? Let's say we have we run some flights every month, and then we can predict when a landslide is going to happen. This is one question. The other one is about fire assessment. We also have this demand from Brazilian government, some forests in Brazil. So they want to, but that's after the fact. So they want to assess the fire damage, like classify the fire damage, right? High severity, low severity, medium, and also compare over time to understand how the recovery is going and how to plan the recovery. So those are the two questions.
So we recently had a grant program, and we have an organization now that's focused on landslides. They are, doing a study to basically see how they can use drone and ground assessments to predict. So I'm happy to connect you with them. I think they're doing field work over this next month, but after that, and kind of seeing what they've come up with there. Um, for us with landslides, we're really just looking at extent right now, so it's not going to be able to bring in different bands and tell you more than that. But definitely an interesting question. Then for fire assessments, it sounds like there's kind of two things there. One, assessing damage and comparing over time. Um, I think it would be unique to the environment that you're working with, to kind of be able to have that fire severity. But happy to kind of explore some of that data and see what might be possible there as well. Thanks for those questions.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you.
Tiam?
Thank you very much, Elisa, for your time and really appreciate your support to the Flying Network. Um, we've someone like me, I've been following drone deploy from the beginning, very beginning, where it was really interesting to know what they're putting together, and really amazing to see the progress we've made so far. Just to jump on the use case scenario that my colleague from Brazil just put on the table, one of the experience we also have recently, we're working together with Skydio, one of our hardware partner, to do a 3D modeling of some monument in Senegal. We have successfully been able to do an outdoor, scanning using the Skydio drone, very perfect quality product. We did the analysis using other platforms because we were not having direct license to use drone deploy. Although Skydio has really mentioned on many occasions to really count and use a drone deploy, which in their opinion will give much more greater results than any other system or platforms out there. I'm not sure. I'm sure you know the relationship we have with Skydio have with the Flying Labs, because we have to go through process to get access to a license that can be used for the use case project. And right now we are at the stage where we've done the outdoor, we've done the analysis and everything is perfect. Then we just recently did the indoor because Skyjo also pretend to have a very great product for indoor scanning and mapping, 3D modeling. And then we just finished the indoor. And then we are expecting this time to use Skydio to test the output. And from what you are putting together, Unify, actually the new Unify, set of information put out here is so important because it actually takes many different data from different sources, put them together to propose a good output without the understanding we should have. So I was just wondering, can we specifically on this Skydio monument and the mosque 3D modeling we are doing, we could be able to test out don't deploy on the analysis that we are trying to do at this stage. We've submitted the form online using the link that we got from you, but so far, no feedback. Thank you.
Okay, so the answer is yes. So each flying lab through Drone Deploy has access to a license to the software that you can use for a single user. And then if you're interested in growing from there, we have that as well. So I just wanted to see. So for applying to our program online, there's a form you fill out on the website, and then there's an additional form that just I know I saw one come in from Kenya Flying Labs, but I haven't seen any others. So I'm just going to put the link in the chat as well. So if you can do kind of that second step and fill this form out, then there's just asking some additional questions about basically your use of the technology and kind of what the plan is.
We
But
just
that sounds like a
posted
great.
the one that we use, the link that we use is the one that just posted, and that was actually filled out by Senegal Flying Labs. But if we haven't seen it, then probably it didn't go through. But that was the link that we got and we
Oh, okay,
used.
yeah, I see it.
But
Okay. I will let's see. Yeah, I think they were just waiting for after this webinar. I see the comments on it now. Um uh So we can get you started. We also have and I think you should have gotten a link to that. Like if you have something that you need to start with more quickly, we have a 2-week trial. So you can start with that trial, and then once we get you set up, then it'll just kind of transfer.
oh wow, all right, that'll be good to have that because we also do a lot of training and meet a lot of stakeholders across our region when I talk about Africa and West Africa particularly. And then these are mostly most of the time where we get opportunity to produce all not necessarily going through our relationship of partnership, but also promoting the good products that are out there that we thought our communities should be using. But it's always good for us to test them out ourselves, to know how to use them before we speak about them. Because when
Yeah.
question comes up, then we don't want to, relink or connect our communities directly to the manufacturers or the partners. So one of the advantages of doing many use cases within the Fly Labs is to test out various products and also feedback to you about what we see good and what we think should be, updated or made better. So thank you again for your time, and we really appreciate it.
Of course, and yeah, definitely value that feedback. So keep it coming. Okay, just a little bit on the nonprofit program. So these are some stats on where we're at there. So 34 million acres, 176,000 flights, 220 nonprofits, 560 universities across 134 countries. So we're pretty excited about the growth we're seeing in both the education and nonprofit areas. And kind of how that's been spreading. We have 3 priority areas within our program: conservation, crisis, and community, kind of just focus areas where we've seen the software be very useful. And then I'm not sure how familiar you are with the product, but I did just want to kind of share a bit on kind of some of the tools that we see used a lot. And so basically every time you create a map in the platform, you get all three of these products directly. And they are in a cloud environment. So basically the need for mostly the need for, a good bandwidth environment is going to be for the upload of that data. And then it's sitting in the cloud, the processing happens there, and you get basically an email when that's done, which usually takes about 30 minutes, sometimes longer for bigger maps. But I think that is a big difference than a lot of the desktop products that can take a lot longer to process because we can use, shared cloud processing environments, which have a lot more power and capability. You also get a 3D model, so that's where you can start, doing measurements, doing analysis on that. Um, Another type of data we see used a lot is just those aerial panoramas. Really easy to deploy. It takes like 2 minutes to fly those flights, and then you get this nice immersive view of your site. And then we talked a little bit about the walkthroughs. One of the most exciting new products we're releasing is called 3D Scan. So that's going to just use a phone. And from there, you're able to scan like the entire room that you're in and turn that into a model. And so that's going to really unlock more capabilities, especially in areas where maybe you don't have permission to fly a drone or you're in a tight environment, such as under foliage or inside a building, where you want to be capturing that. These ones are using an Insta360 camera. You can use other 360 camera providers as well, but that's how these ones are captured. So that's kind of more of the walks or the panoramas. They have really big lenses, and it's a pretty small device. And so that's how a lot of folks are capturing that ground data now. We can do kind of the same types of analyses that you're getting from drone data on ground captured data. So you can, take measurements, you can look for certain things in your imagery, and there is the ability to create maps of those areas with just the camera as well. So a lot of exciting stuff happening there. And then you can add photos onto a map too. So photos, videos, anything you've taken with from a phone, you can drop that onto a map and be able to visualize that data too. So that can be helpful if you're, going door to door doing surveying. You're capturing photos as you go, and you can connect that to your data and have that on top of the drone map in your final project. Okay, so just a couple tips for those low connectivity environments, because I know that's kind of a common area where a lot of folks here are working. So one of the tools that is probably best for that is the live map capability. So that is the ability to create a map directly onto your device without having to do uploading of that. So it's using video photogrammetry instead of the photo tool. So I guess videogrammetry instead of photogrammetry. Um, and um, and that's basically getting a map directly on your device. We also see people, if you're getting to a new environment, you haven't already pre-planned your maps, you're not sure what it's going to look like. You can do something similar where you're just flying a quick mission, getting that as a ground base, and then from there you can collect more in-depth data on top of it. We also have offline mapping. So that means you can pre-plan your flight in an area with internet on your desktop or mobile device. You can download that onto your phone or tablet or whatever you're using for offline use. You can right now the generic setting is only 10 available offline just so that it's not taking up insane amounts of space on your device. But if you request that from us, we can unlock that so you can have like as many as you want offline, because some folks that we're working with do need more than that 10. Um, and you can also use terrain awareness in that offline environment, which can be helpful as well. So that's probably one of the better workarounds for that offline capability. Obviously, you can also just we have a lot of folks who just are collecting photos, maybe not even with a planning tool, and then you can upload those and it'll process them. So what I mean by that is kind of like flying around and kind of clicking the camera as you go. Oops. Um, So uploading data sets, there's a couple options there. Um, you can upload from a mobile device in the field and resume later once you get to your computer. You can pause and upload and restart it, and then you can do this turbo upload, which is kind of speeding up the upload capabilities. Um, but yeah, I think, you know, it's definitely not going to be a tool for every project, depending on some of the environments you all are working in. But you can think of this limitation similarly to kind of the speed at which the processing happens uh, for other photos that are being processed locally, and kind of weighing those trade-offs. Um, so I know there are some questions here. Happy to take a second and answer those, or if anybody has experience of what this has looked like in the field, would be interested in hearing that as well. Yeah, Ronald.
Yes, Rebecca, thank you for the explanation. Uh, in Bolivia, we have a Wintra One that it's a very good drone, but our camera it's so basic. So the exactitude that we can have it's like 2 centimeters per pixel. So my question is, with that precision, we can use your tool uh, properly, or we need a new camera?
Winter one. So yeah. I mean, I think the question always is like, what are you looking for? And is that the resolution that'll work? Um, we do process winter data, so there's no limitation on that side. It just might be, not at the resolution you're looking for. But I definitely recommend taking a crack at it. If you've used other platforms to process data, always recommend when you're getting started with drone deploy, do some side by sides. Let me know how that goes. Um, and and yeah, it's not going to fix the resolution issues, but maybe it'll work there. I don't know. This is kind of like left field, but in Canva and a lot of other online tools now, there are these like hyper resolution tools. So they take any photo you have that's grainy and kind of make it better through AI that's like repopulating the pixels. So who knows, maybe putting it in something like that could work as well.
If you can give me the name of that AI tool, it will be so appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah. AI. about, yeah, Marcelo?
Hey, Rebecca. One additional question. Is it possible to have a hands-on training for Flying Labs on the tool?
Yeah, you mean in person?
No, remote, but some kind of training where we can experience the tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a ton of resources online that can kind of go through that. And then if there's like enough folks interested, would be happy to run something like that. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. Maybe we can, Rebecca, if you want, because this webinar is like a coffee shop. It's amazing. We are interacting a lot. We can to assist you answering Marcelo. What we can do is after we end the webinar, maybe we can share the space where the resources you recommend, and we can give them a time so they can review. And after that, we can do a survey to see who is interested in maybe an online training or a session, a Q&A session. We can arrange a type of that kind of, I don't know, what do you have? What do you think about it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dania. Good idea.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if I mean, I can go through this really quickly and then show a little bit of the platform as well. But we did have some questions about plant health, just sharing how our tool works. It really depends on what bands you're collecting in your imagery, but kind of the most basic is just going to be the Vari index using RGB imagery. And but you can see if you are collecting that infrared data, we can add that in as well and do a lot of different index calculations. It really depends on kind of what you're looking for and which bands are going to be able to show that, what makes the most sense. And then there's a couple different ways to visualize that data, gridded or zoned, so that you can kind of spot areas that are less healthy than others. So this is that that zone view as well. And then these ones can also be exported, which is great if you're using them in other environments. So yeah, go through that quick enough that I'm happy to just pull up the platform. Can you see that? Oh wait, let me reshare my screen. So the design is kind of similar to if you've been working in like Google Drive or something like that, where everything's organized into folders, and then within those folders you can have different projects. So each of these, either the project or the folder, you can invite different people to have access to that data, and then they can all have different types of permissions, either being able to view it, to edit it, depending on what makes sense for them. Over here, you can see analytics on your organization, kind of the equipment you're using. And then this is a great resource called the Academy, which has a bunch of online trainings and certifications that you can get to kind of express that you have familiarity with these tools and also just understanding them better. Actually, there might be yeah, there's some trainings in here as well that you can take a look at. So let me see what would be interesting. This was the project that I was sharing with you all, kind of the mudslide in Ecuador. So we can see, you start with a base of satellite data, and then kind of the different data that was collected is on top of this. And as those, if there's kind of a lot of data in one place, they'll be grouped together. And then as you zoom in, you'll see those as individuals. So these are just photos that were captured. You can see them pulling up on the side here. This is a video from a drone that was captured over the area as well. We've also got a panorama here, and each of these, each of these products that you're sharing, or that I'm sharing on my screen can be easily, shared with folks through a URL, so that they can see right to that specific piece of data. Panoramas, you can kind of do this comparison over time, or lock them together and then have them move together. So if you do see an environment that's changing, those I think those kind of this, as you have more data in here, you could also compare those over time. That can be a really powerful tool. These are those walkthroughs I was showing you. So here you can see there's just a person who's holding a camera, and we're getting this visual of the damage here. And then you can kind of see it's kind of like Google Street View. There's a bit of a path here that you can walk down to move around in the data set. So I can say, oh, I just want to go down there, and quickly move to that area. And then, say I see an issue here, you can start marking up the data. This is an observation of what's happened. Like damage on street. You can mark that, and then you can get a report with the GPS coordinates and kind of the details and photos from each of those issues that you've marked in the data. So we can see some of those issues popping up here from other data sets that were collected. I'll show you the kind of on the left here, you see the different layers of data that you have access to once the data is processed. So there's the plant health. Here's that elevation layer, which can be really useful for, flooding, planning, other use cases like that. And then these are the different medias that are on it. So the walk, photo, video, pano, each of these has been, named so you can understand which one's which. And then these are the annotations that have been taken here. So we've got an edge annotation, points, distances, areas, volumes, and counting. And so here's a point that was marked. You can see all the photos from the drone in that location, the elevation, kind of like all the different information you would want to have access to. Yep. Question? I don't think I can. I think it's that iPhone number is the one that's unmuted, but it might be a little poor bandwidth. So if you want to put your question in the chat, that might be better. And then I'll just show you that 3D visual. Dania, do you want to just mute that phone?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's ready.
Thank you. So in the 3D environment, we have kind of the options. Let me just get that here. Of seeing it as a mesh, points like you see with LiDAR models, or even a splat. That's pretty new type of data that folks are playing around with a lot. And then you have access to that elevation layer, and then the contours view as well. So you can change up those contours to be more useful for the project you're looking at. This is where you can add in layers. You can do this in both the 2D and 3D. So you can add in, you know, you can see all the file additions, GeoTIFF, DXF, XML, DXF, IFC, shapefile, CSV. So you can add in also web layers from ArcGIS that you have that you want to be able to visualize on top of that project. And you can do that for any of the projects so that you can have kind of that better view of the data there. But, you know, kind of like as much as being visually appealing, the other big use case for this is for measuring. So I did a couple measurements here using that 3D view. So if you can see as I'm moving that this is kind of hugging the environment and following along. So the tool is really good at making it easy for you to do measurements in a 2D or a 3D environment. Also some nice visuals here. You can kind of set it up to be a spinning table. There's also camera animation, so you could have it start in one place and move to another. Yeah, that's kind of some of the nicer tools there. So that's a quick walkthrough of kind of this explore page, what you get once your data is processed. I'm going to move over to the fly tab. This is where you would set up your flights. There's a lot of different types of flight plans here. So right now I'm showing a corridor flight plan. For any of these, there's kind of the basics of how that's set up, and then you can go into this advanced panel to you know, do more analysis for setting up certain settings that you want to maybe have yourself instead of have automatic, but it'll kind of start with the most basic form of that and then go from there. And I really like this tool that'll tell you how many images are going to be taken, how many batteries it's going to use, and how many minutes of flight. You can see here that we have kind of a list of cameras and that you can use, and then that will update the, you know, how long that flight will take. This is actually for fixed cameras if you have them, and then just kind of creating those reports automatically from, you know, anything that you collected. So this one's an annotation report. It's going to build out the report of all of the, you know, points, lines, distance areas. And again, all of these are also shareable so that you can collect that, and any of the annotations you've made, you can also download those and use them in another environment. Questions, things you want to see?
I just want to say thank you so much, Rebecca, because I think this is an inspiring and insightful presentation of unlocking the power of photogrammetry. And I think it was very helpful for us to understand the workflow. I think that the door is open. The floor is open, sorry, the floor is open so we can hear and discuss as we have 5 minutes. But for sure, Rebecca, and when you present some of the landslide and on how you are using the software for disaster and risk management, I think that for sure, talking and having a follow-up, because we are having this year 2 conferences, one in South Africa and the other one in Jamaica. I think this is a type of solutions we want to definitely have and share with our participants in the conference. So Lion Labs, thank you. The micros are open. You can raise your hand and ask questions.
Yeah, I just put my my LinkedIn to stay connected in the chat, and would also love to have as many of you as makes sense for the environment you're in and kind of your projects, to please go ahead and apply for access to the platform so that you can start using it, and provide your feedback as well. Really interested in kind of seeing how it works for all of the different environments you're in, and learning from that. So yeah, our website, let me also put that in the chat. Here is our website. So you can go there and kind of go through the process. It's pretty straightforward, and yeah, I look forward to working with you all. Thanks for your time as well. I know folks are joining from all different times all around the world, so appreciate you making it work.